Grinders. Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHD, BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Thursday, December 14th. We'll be taking a look at the Thursday night football game showdown slate on DraftKings. The Chargers and the Raiders. Hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Join with me live on location from a USFL stadium, I guess, is Will Priester, Chief Justice, head of Chiefs prop shop. Did the prop shop go? You're on a road trip. You there? You don't even have a jacket on or anything. Is it warm where you are? It's pretty cold over here.
Yeah, it's cold. I can put my hoodie on here and make sure I stop the wind from blowing too much into my ears.
What stadium is that? What actual stadium is that?
I don't even know where I am, Blender. I just got dropped live at the location. But here's the deal. The USFL is going to be more exciting than this NFL game tonight that we've got between the Chargers and the Raiders. I'd much rather be at a USFL location. Look, I will say this, just in general, and we'll get into that later. I will say I think some of the prop pick'em streets are probably a little bit too low because they think these quarterbacks are way worse than they are. But once again, Blender, guess what? We don't get to choose our slates. And so when there's showdown, there's still money to be made. And so it's our job to try to make that determination. And luckily, RotoGrinders has tons of tools to help us not even have to think about who we actually want to play. We can click a couple buttons and it'll tell us mostly what we should do.
Right. We got projections. We got lineup HQ. We'll have the SimLab stuff up. That's for premium members now only. So you have to click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. We'll have Showdown HQ up as well later today. But it's a 34.5 total. And you said like maybe these quarterbacks aren't as bad as the prop streets are making them out. We have Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick, right? Herbert is not going to play this game. That's why the Chargers total is so low. They're playing at Las Vegas. Another thing, Devontae Adams, I just saw on Twitter, he is going to play. He's listed questionable. We still have Palmer listed questionable. Our projections, as well as the Blitz projections, don't have Josh Jacobs in, but I know that on sports books, they still have props. I still see some props up for Jacobs. You could clue me in a little bit more. I mean, I'm under the impression that Jacobs is not going to play.
Yeah, that's how I'm moving forward. If he happens to play, then okay, I'll make some adjustments. But
yeah, but that changes everything. Will that changes everything. We take a lot. I mean, let's not bury the lead on this slate. I mean, the Raiders are a favorite at home, and if assuming Jacobs doesn't play, I mean, Zamir White is 3,000, and we have him projected as similar as like a 9K player, and the Blitz has him even higher than that. Like the Blitz has him projected almost as high as Austin Eckler, who's 11K. I mean, I'm going under the assumption, like, if Jacobs plays, then it changes completely everything because we don't have a 3K player that I'm going to have to assume we have. Like, this is what I'm talking about by understanding the rationality and irrationality of human beings. Like our current ownership projections, which obviously will be updated later today. Zamir White at 3K at 42% owned. Let's just say that's off by a magnitude of like 100%. Like,
oh yeah,
Zamir White is going to be like 30% owned in the captain. Like, it's quite possible that in total he's going to be in 95% of lineups.
I agree,
because he'll be the lead back for 3K for the favored Raiders team. And with these quarterbacks, you have to figure that there's going to be a lot more running than passing in this game. Is there a way? I mean, obviously there is a way because of ownership. Assume we're going with the assumption that Jacobs is not playing. Because every projection set I see around the industry doesn't have Jacobs in, right? And the props for like anytime touchdown have Zamir White on par with Jacobs. So it seems like they're just making it so that you can't like Like either if you bet on Jacobs, you're getting basically the same touchdown odds as Zamir White, and there's going to be no discount on anything. So, is there a way, at least in the flex, around playing? I mean, Zamir White, his median projection here on our projections is 12.47, and he's 3K. Like he doubles that of like almost anyone even close to him in price. Is there a world where, I mean, is there a world where you don't play Zamir White? Is there a world where
I don't think so.
plays 80% of the snaps? I don't expect Brandon Bolden to do much out of the backfield. How do you not play Zamir White at 3K?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that in this situation. Blender. So this is one of those situations where I'm glad we're having this discussion, because I think sometimes people misunderstand how you view game theory. So I want to help clear that up for them. So sometimes I think people say, well, maybe they think you're just being off the board just to do it, right? Like, as an example, if this was a normal game and everybody was going to play the Chargers, you said, oh, well, I could easily just play the Raiders, because remember back when we had Slate IQ, or showed up Slate IQ, let's call it Slate IQ. I can't remember what we called it. It would just tell us 5-3, or 5-1, 4-2, 3-3, and it'd say, well, this is most optimal for the captain. This is most optimal for flex, or this strategy. But as we would always talk about, that could be for either team. So we would always think, well, it's the team that's going to be in control of the game with the 4-2, but the 4-2 could be the opposite team coming back, right? And so I'm saying that because that was just giving us a different way to view it. So I think sometimes people would, not people that were in your game theory room, by the way. Blender does have a theory of DFS, and you check out his channel and talk to him and ask him all those questions. But my point is, I think they thought you just threw stuff against the wall and hoped that it sticked.
Right. People tend to think that's like, the 5 highest owned players, you just don't play any of them. And it's like no, it's more about how much projection are you giving up for ownership. And
Correct.
Sometimes when it comes to efficient ownership, you're trying to determine, even on a player by player basis, what the efficient ownership of a player is. And it doesn't mean that if a player is high owned, that makes them bad or over owned. And just because they're low owned doesn't make them under owned. So like on a slate like this, like it's quite, if you told me Zamir White at this projection was going to only come in at 42% owned in the flex, even if he's the most owned player in the flex, like I'd be playing him in every lineup, because compared to his projection, he should be twice as owned as that. But then you take a look at Austin Hooper is 1% projected owned. Well, maybe at his projection at that price, maybe he should only be 1%. Maybe a guy that's 8%, Jalen Guyton, 8% owned. Maybe he should only be 4% owned. Maybe he's actually over, but he's only 8% owned. Yeah, but he may be over owned at 8%, and Zamir White may be under owned at 42%. So it's not just like fade the chalk, play something else type of thing.
Right.
But when you do play the chalk, the rest of your lineup is going to matter, and especially in showdown. So that's why I made the distinction about it's going to be hard to play well projected lineups without Zamir White in the flex.
Correct.
But when it comes to the captain spot, understand that he's going to project to be the best captain by far for his price. The thing is that we're playing a showdown slate, right? This isn't like a 12-game NFL slate where there's so many different combinations that you plug in Zamir White and the captain. Like you're look at this. This is the optimal lineup in lineup HQ right now. Zamir White, a captain. Then you have Adams, Eckler, and both quarterbacks and the Raiders defense at 4,200. Like essentially, and this is a 49-9 lineup. If you play Zamir White and the captain, you can play everyone you want. You just pay up for everyone. I mean, you're playing literally the top 4 priciest people on the slate. This lineup is going to be like duplicated 1,300 times, 1,700 times.
Listen, or Blender or more, because everybody's smart enough today to say, oh well, Because think about how many times we do it. Let's call it a garbage lineup, Blender, where we'll take a 2K tight end and say, oh, well, maybe he catches two. I'm not saying I do that. I'm saying generally speaking, we plug in that person just to get this type of construction where we can get all the production. Like today, it's the obvious move. And
but this lineup is going to be much higher on than you think.
Oh,
so
yeah,
if you're going to play Zamir White in the captain spot, this is for large field GPPs especially. You want to make sure that you're not using anywhere close to this amount of salary, because people, once they plug in Zamir White a captain, is just like, well, I could play everyone. So it's like, well, instead of playing Devontae Adams, I'm going to play Jacoby Myers. Like, let's say you did that, right? And you plugged him in instead. You're leaving 2,700 on the table. I guarantee you this lineup is going to be duplicated 87 times also. Yeah. Even for that amount. So, to me, Zamir White, from how many combinations of lineups can you make with a decent projection standpoint, is not the way that I would be playing large field contests. But it's not because I don't want to play Zamir White. It's just that I want to play Zamir White in the flex, where it's going to be insane to find anyone that's projected this high in this range. Play Donald Parham or Michael Meyer or Spiller and Hooper and Darius Davis. I mean, these guys project for garbage compared to Zamir White. But you have so many more options now, because if you play an Adams captain, Eckler captain, O'Connell captain, Stick captain, Myers captain, Palmer, like Quentin Johnson, you have a lot more combinations, and they're going to be much, much less duped. And if you're going to play a Zamir White captain, those are the lineups that you should leave like 8,000 on the table. Like, it's such a low scoring game that, one of these 2K guys, 3K guys just outscores a quarterback, right? You have Isaiah Spiller just totally outscores Austin Eckler. And an 11K Austin Eckler just is like the 9th highest scorer on the slate, and you don't need him. Like, those would be my Zamir White lineups. But in the lineups that you're playing, Easton Stickett captain, right? If you're playing a kicker captain, if you're playing some Quentin Johnson captain, like, you could play a lineup that spends like 48, 49K and still not be duplicated as heavily. You'll probably still be duplicated, but probably not over 10. I mean, you could find lineups that aren't duplicated over 10 with other captains, but the Zamir White one is just going to be like, dude, once you plug in Zamir White, like, you could jam in everyone. And then if you start taking those guys out, your projection starts going down so dramatically that you'd be better off just captaining one of those expensive guys and just plugging in Zamir White into like every flex, into the flex in every lineup that you make.
Yeah. And so, Blender, and I think here's the thing. We've done this show or showdown talk, and we've talked DFS strategy with each other enough. One shows, like, you already know what I'm going to do. Most likely. Like, you know kind of how I like to build. I'm not going to play him in any captain, but I'm going to lock him in the flex 100%. Like, that's how I'm going to approach this slate. And I'm going to jam so much Devontae Adams in the captain, it's not going to be funny. And here's why. And hear me out here. Just from and Blender, this isn't the statistical side. This is just like real life. Who do you think is going to be the most important option on the Raiders tonight, regardless? Jacobs got all these carries, and I'm not saying that White won't get carries. I'm saying if there's one player that's going to burn me tonight, or that's going to really explode in this game, considering the Chargers give up massive amounts of passing yards anyway, it's got to be Devontae Adams, right? So, and I'm not saying Devontae won't be owned in the captain, but what I am saying, Blender, is we've got him at 20%, and we've got White, and I meant to check that White in the captain around 14%. I think that's going up.
It's not going to be there. Yeah. We both know these numbers are going to change, and it's
yeah. So my point is, see, here's the thing, Blender. Just from a numbers perspective, right? At captain, you only get one. So it's not like the flex where you get four or five extra. You get one. The higher percentage we get on White captain, the less owned the other guys are going to be. And I know that's straightforward, that's simple. It's not cutting edge knowledge, but we still need to think about it like that. If Zamir White is at 30% in the captain, Blender, as an example, I actually think that's probably, I feel like he's closer to 30 than anything else, as long as Jacobs doesn't play, obviously, but I don't think Jacobs is going to play. I think White ends up close to 30. Let's go with that. So that leaves Adams, Eckler, O'Connell, Stick, probably Myers for the other stuff. And people are going to throw some defense in there at 2 and 3% for both teams because of the game, and they feel like it's going to be a bad game. Like, I get that. So that means Adams is going to be lower than he should. Eckler will be lower than he should. O'Connell, like, all of these guys are going to be much lower than they should be in a general sense because they're the primary sources of production anyway. I think Zamir White will be fine because he's 3K, but I still don't think he's Josh Jacobs. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, Josh Jacobs is getting 20-plus carries. I don't think White's getting 20-plus carries, and I could absolutely be wrong. But given the soft coverage of the Chargers and the fact that now you're getting a Raiders team with one of their primary options out and the other primary option is going to play, I got to think Devontae is the primary option. Not saying that White won't get touches. That's not what I'm saying. But to me, and this is speculative, and I get that, but I'm also trying to think, around how they might treat this. This feels like a Devontae Adams 15 target game to me versus the usual 7, 8, 10, whatever. This feels like the massive target game for Devontae. So I'd be more apt to play way more Devontae captain than White captain, which is why I'm just not going to play him at all. He's going to be too high owned for an unproven commodity, in my opinion. So I am going 100% in the flex because that's the right thing to do. Like, it's not like he doesn't need to get played. That's not the situation we're in. This is like, Zach Moss at 4,800 a couple weeks ago. Yeah, he didn't get there, but you still needed to play him because the opportunity cost was going to be too great. Devontae Adams and Aiden O'Connell to me are going to be my primary targets at captain today, for what it's worth. And then I'll filter in some of the Chargers guys. But I don't think – I understand that White, the projection on him is – it's freaking amazing for his price. But if I want to win this thing, Blender, like if me and you just want to share the top and maybe a 3-way split, a 2-way split, maybe even solo, like, you have to think about it like that when you want to win. If White's 30% in the captain, you're chopping it. I'm telling you right now, you're chopping it with someone. If you want to win.
Just like in the chat, Travis says, I love slates like this. So many people are going to be dead by jamming the studs in. So much duplication. Now, when he says dead, it doesn't mean you're dead. It's just that from a long-term expected value standpoint, like, you're going to be lineups that when you win, you're splitting with 768 ways for $900 in a contest where other lineups you could play that when they win 50,000 or 100,000. I'd rather play those types of lineups, but so many people won't. It doesn't mean that you have to play lineups that are never duplicated. But you should be avoiding lineups that are going to be duplicated 700 times. Take a 20-way split rather than a 700-way split.
Blender.
That's kind of the point that we're making here.
Yeah, I think we both take 20. We take 10. We love 3, right? Like, we take that all day. I don't want 50. Like, when you split 50 ways, Blender, it's just so frustrating. Because, I take that back. I don't want to say frustrating because if there's $1 million up top, like, obviously that changes the dynamic structure to pay out. But even still,
long term, it's not profitable. It's nice for that one slate, but if you consistently play lineups like that, you're going to see 5 years from now that I won first a whole bunch of times, and why am I down money?
Yeah, Blender, I remember back, and this is an NBA reference, but it speaks to what we're talking about. I remember back when FanDuel first brought up their version of single game contest, and I was playing a lot more NBA single game at that time. And I remember, Blender, about a week, and this was during the playoffs, Blender, I went on like this massive run. Every day I was coming in first. Now, some days it was like 7,000. Other days it was 20. Some days it was 15. You get what I'm saying? But I think I did this, 4 or 5 days in a row where I just kept hitting it. But here's why, Blender. I knew what everybody else in the contest was going to do. I knew how they were going to play. I knew who they were going to play where. And guess what I did? I just made a couple tweaks. I said, well, if everybody's going to play LeBron and MVP, I just won't play him there, right? And so automatically I'm giving myself different outcomes against the field. And so a lot of times I think there are going to be slates where you play the obvious lineup and you go and look and go, oh, that was the obvious lineup, and somebody crushes. But we have to remember we're playing against each other. And so if we know, as an example, how the field is going to approach the slate, that doesn't mean we have to do stupid things. It just means we know how to adjust our lineups to avoid the chop. And in the end, that's what we want to do in Showdown, right? Like we want to avoid the chop, and then it takes a little bit of luck to get all the way there. But as many lineups as we can get in that avoid the 80-person, 100-person, 200-person chop, the better our chances are of winning. Like the big one. I'm not
you
saying
make more money in the long run. You win less often, but when you win, it makes up for all that. Let's talk about the Chargers side. There's another guy that's out. Is Keenan Allen is out, right?
Yeah.
But there's no doubt about that. We have Keenan Allen out. Easton Stick is at quarterback.
Is Brandon Staley out?
Questionable yet? I think he's going to play. Like, what do you think of the receiving core? Because typically Keenan Allen, hey, target monster, $11K, whatever price he would be. How do the roles get split up here? Does Eckler get more of a target share? Because we typically see that Eckler and Allen are kind of negatively correlated when it comes to receptions. Like when Keenan Allen's in, Eckler gets less of the dump offs, but when Allen's out, Eckler gets more of the dump offs. But also they've been playing like Josh Kelly more and Spiller more and stuff like that. But then we got like Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston, Jalen Guyton and the tight ends. Everett's there. And the thing about Everett is that Everett is kind of almost used as a wide receiver. Do you see like who fills in that Keenan Allen role? Because that's kind of the more valuable role in this offense, not the outside receivers. You want like the slot guy here. I get the sense, if I were to guess, I'm not a hand in the dirt football person, but I don't know. I think Everett at 5,200, I feel like people may avoid. It's like, oh, why am I paying 5,200 for a tight end? Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he's out there more often than the other receivers.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do, Blender. And I do think I'm going to have time to like bill 150 tonight. I think I'm going to have time. So for me, I'm just going to have to run the split on these guys. And look, I'm not afraid to tell people, Blender, I have no clue which receiver is going to be the guy today. I don't have a clue. So I'm going to play them all because I'm going to have to. This is uncharted territory. We lost their quarterback and their receiver, basically. So there's production available for everyone. I'm playing them all. And, I'll adjust it accordingly. And that's just what I'm going to have to do. I don't know. Like Quentin Johnson could have, 5 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. It could also be Gerald Everett. It could be, Josh Palmer. Josh Kelly could go out there and have 10 rushes and catch 3 or 4. I don't know. I have no clue. Donald Parham, Blender, could go out there and catch 3 or 4 balls. I'm not sure. Now, look, obviously there are things I can do, right? Like I can go and look at snap percentages, but we're still in uncharted territory because the quarterback's out and the primary receiver is out. So I think I can lean into that a little bit. And what I'll do, I think in the end, Blender, is I'm going to look and see, okay, who's just not getting any steam or maybe not getting enough steam given the situation. So like if everybody says, well, if Quentin Johnson, as an example, ends up kind of being the guy that everybody wants to play in the end, then I'll just probably beef up my Josh Palmer ownership. As an example, not that I won't play him, but I'll try to attack the field a little bit that way.
I get the sense that people are out on Quentin Johnston. All I see is people making fun of like he's horrible. So I get the sense that people may not. It's either going to be that. Let me tell you, based on Twitter sentiment, it's either on this slate. Yeah. It's either going to be Quentin Johnston sucks. I'm playing Palmer. I'm playing Everett. I'm playing even Guyton, or it's going to be the opposite of like this is the spot, right? You're going to get people that are tweeting we were hyping up Quentin Johnston, but now finally this is the spot, and then he ends up being 42% owned or something like that. The opposite thing. Sure. It's going to be one, right? Even in the chat, it could be Travis. Johnston's cheeks, right? You're going to get 2 sides. You can get people that believe in Quentin Johnston. You get people that don't believe in Quentin Johnston. So I'm not sure which way it's going to go. Our projections say it's going to go that people don't want to click. Right. Kirby Travis, he wants to hit the X button. Right. People aren't going to do that. My attitude is, dude, I'm not afraid to say what you said. I mean, that is the way I play. We don't know anything. Right.
Yeah.
Even when we think we know, we don't know. So like, I'll look at what everyone else is going to do. And with the, how much, like, dude, there's no data on how do the Chargers play in this scenario. There's no data. Like, good luck.
Right.
Good luck. They were well, the preseason there were 6 snaps. Like good luck determining based on 6 snaps on the third quarter of some week 3 preseason game of what they're going to do. You have no clue.
So Blender, here's my other thing. So here's what we have to understand. Hey, Travis, this is for you. Travis is my boy, by the way. Travis has been a long-time subscriber. Like, he's been around. Travis, this is for you. Quentin Johnson is cheats, and I'm still going to play him. See, that's what we have to realize, Blender. Doesn't matter how bad someone is, it matters their performance that day. And today, I might need that performance from him. Like, I don't think Quentin Johnson is like a game-changing receiver, but I also think you need to be playing him today because this situation may award him the opportunity to not be cheats today, right? And that's the thing. Like, Blender, how many times in NBA at the end of the season will a team like the Lakers sit everybody? Will a team like the Pistons, who already are bad, they'll sit their good players, and you end up with a whole team of guys that you would never play. But guess what you have to do that day? You have to play them. And that's where I am with a guy like Johnston. And guess what? Everybody else on the Chargers offense, because I don't know. So I need to make sure that I put myself in an advantageous situation. So for me, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to lock in as long as our boy Jacobs is out. Zamir White is going to get the lock button at the flex. I'm going to have tons of Aiden O'Connell and Adams, and then I'm just going to start filtering in Chargers because I legitimately don't know where the production is actually coming from. But I do know that there will be production, and I want exposure to it.
Right, but Defik has it right in the chat, right? Johnson could get 10 targets. The problem is he might drop them all. Right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. What the sentiment is like he's in a great spot, opportunity spot. But look, I mean, we saw with we have Easton Stick throwing the ball. So like, look at the past week with like Jonathan Mingo getting like 11 targets and 2 catches. Zay Jones, right? We have Zay's 14 targets, like nothing. I mean, like, yeah, these people are going to get opportunities.
We saw that same thing with Greg Dortch a couple weeks ago with Arizona.
Right.
Oh my God. What in the world was that? And of course, that's the day that I played him in DFS and I took his prop number, Blender. He did get the prop number like super late. I was like, oh, thank God. But yeah, I get it.
Talking about props, we'll move away from the slate because before we get out of here, prop wise, right? You're the head of Cheap's prop shop. You said you like the props more on this game than the slate. So what are you looking at right now? What's available right now that you think has value?
So for me, Blender, I'm taking the overs in everything in this game. But the reason why is, hear me out. The blitz
is everything. So I should go on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. Go to this game and just like blindly bet all the overs on everything.
Aiden O'Connell, Easton Stick, all the Chargers receivers. They don't have as much Raider stuff up because I feel like Jacobs has them in limbo. But the Chargers receivers, Blender, listen to me. And look, if you guys trust the blitz, and I do trust the blitz, along with my own, acumen, the blitz has told us that everything's too low in this game. It's so when you go to the Raiders, if you go, let's go Chargers real quick. Sorry, Blender. Let's go Chargers. And look, the blitz is a paid projection system, so you need to pay for it. But like right now, Easton Stick is under 200 yards. The blitz has it 224. Remember, they're in the dome. I know the blitz has it bumped a little bit. Like you also have to know some of the back stuff of the blitz, but still, we've got him at 224. I think the books have him around 189-ish in a sense. That's a good enough gap for me. You go to the Chargers receivers. and you look at these receiving yards, and they've got Palmer at 46 and Johnson at 36, and it's like, well, that's probably, the book that might think a little bit too low. So that's really what it is. I think they're giving this team, or they think this team is going to play a lot worse than I think they're going to play today. And I think the Blitz is sharing with us that, hey, while everybody may think this team is really bad, it doesn't matter. Like, I think the numbers are too low. When you go over to the Raiders,
it's also, Will, it's not like the Raiders defense is good, right?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. And we know the Chargers defense isn't good. So, like when we go to even the Raiders, like Devontae's projected for 85 receiving yards. I'm sure the book's are going to come out less than that. And I didn't look at the actual book projection yet. Jacoby Myers at 54. Like, I think they have this game projected way too low in terms of where the books are. And as a result, that's why I'm going to be on all these overs. And look, folks, listen to me. If you don't learn anything else, right? I told you anything else. Don't go and put all these things in a parlay for your main stuff. Please single leg this stuff, okay? Please, because you're going to come out way further ahead. Now, I'm not saying don't parlay. I'm saying if you want to, just bump your unit size down, but don't put your main money on all of these guys. Just single leg them all. And then if you want to do a little parlay, have at it, right? So I want to make that clear, because I think sometimes, people, they chase the big one. Chase the big one on the pick'em sites. If you got book access, you need to be single legging most of these things. Sorry. All right, Blender, back to
right. Well, that's what people don't understand with me. It's like what I do in sports betting is not sexy. Like, it's not like I'll have, on tonight I'll 50 NHL bets tonight or something. It's like, I'm not going to end up with like, oh my God, I hit 90% of my bets and made $17 trillion. It's like, dude, like a good day is like, did I make like $400 or $500? It's like,
yeah,
well, good. Like if I, because some of these bets are plus 160, some of them are minus 175, some of them or whatever. But, out of 50 bets, like if I win more than half of them, I mean, I make a couple $100 and I'm good. And then you move on to the next day. And then by the end of the year, you look and you go, how much did I make in hockey bets? It's like, oh, $17,000. It's like, yeah,
right.
It adds up over time. You're not going to make 17,000 in one day. Don't try to do that. Just bet them straight and just be not sexy, and just let the projection model that you use be. I get a large sample size, and at the end of the year, you look and it's like, oh, between all my stuff, like it's really not hard doing stuff like that, betting low bet size, heavy volume, right? You're betting on a lot of things like, oh, look, all these overs and all these on tonight's game and everything. And then you load in the blitz projections, and now you get all the Saturday games and the Sunday games. In NFL, I mean, if you use these projection models, you could end up with, instead of betting $1,500 on like 15 like $100 parlays or something, just bet $10 on 150 of these bets. And then just like win 62% of them, depending on obviously the price. And next thing you know, at $1,500, you made $172 of profit. And it's like, that's like 12%. So like, that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing.
I mean, like, and then do that every week. Imagine you do that every week of NFL season, right? 18 times and 150. Next thing you know, you're up $3,000 for the season. And it's like, how much work did you have to do? Not much.
Right. And Blender, here's the thing too. I'm not telling people don't play a big parlay for fun. Like, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is don't take your real money and do that. Like, that's like size. So like last year when we were in Tennessee, like, I made most of my money on college basketball, right? Like that's why I made most of it last year. But then for the Super Bowl, Blender, I took a little, a real small portion, I mean, very small of my bankroll, and just did a nice parlay for the Super Bowl. And I would have netted $35K had I done it. But like, that wasn't my real money. That was for fun, just for the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still had some single legs and stuff for that too. So like, I get it, because look, for me, my motto is work hard, play hard. So for me, every month I will take a shot, right? Like, I call it taking a shot. I've had some really good profits, and I'll take a shot. Maybe I'll increase my unit size 2 or 3 or whatever, and I'll take a shot on something. but like that's not going to hurt me because I'm already way ahead in my profitability. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that, because I think sometimes people think we're just out here doing 20 leg parlays every day. That's not
right.
That's
Well,
not what we're
also
doing.
the other side is true. Also, like Tyler Duder in chat goes, 50 bets on just hockey is a lot of volume. It's not. 50 bets on just hockey is not a lot of volume at all. And now, volume of bets. I mean, like you could bet $1 on 50 bets, and that's $50. So, I mean, like depending on what you consider volume. But let me tell you, for the professionals that I know that do prop bets, 50 bets is not even close to a lot of volume. But like on a normal day, you think that I do a lot of volume on a normal day? There are professionals out there on a normal day. You got hockey, you got basketball going like today. You got some football stuff, right? They will have maybe upwards close to 1,000 bets on one day, on a normal day. Like not like whatever. Like they will have 1,000 because the basketball, they're not just betting on points, rebounds, assists. They're also betting on steals. They're betting on PRA, P plus R, P plus A, P plus all the combinations of all of that. And in hockey, they're betting shots on goal for like half the players and assists for 20 other. I mean, like it's just anything that shows any bit of a little bit of an edge. They're just betting literally across the board on everything, but not like thousands of dollars. It's just like $100, $150. Now that a lot of the professional syndicates, they try to get as much money down across the board. So they have like 74 accounts or whatever. But like that is volume. That is scale. So if you think that betting 50, like, dude, I already put in hockey bets before I even did the show. Like I literally just went to our NHL projections and said, okay, we don't have block shots up yet because the books don't have, the DraftKings didn't have them up yet, but they have everything else. So it's like I just go through all the shots on goal props. You know how long it took me to bet on? I think I made 15 or 16 shots on goal props. Currently, I'll probably add another 15 in the afternoon. It took me what? It took me, I think, 7 minutes. Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just doing search. I'm just going to the column and I'm just going ding, 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 and then flat betting them all. And then they're done. How long does it take you to do that? Right now my like unit size or whatever, like I bet $30 each on all of these. Right. If your bankroll is smaller, then you'd be betting $5. I mean, like it's whatever size it is. It's just that I'm spreading it out that like I'm not sitting there going, what's the best one? How do I get $2,000 on it? It's like, no, I'm just looking at the projections, spreading it out. I'll do that with NBA today. I'll do that with NFL for the weekend. I'll look at the blitz projections and I just go to passing yards and I go, okay, who has the best line? What's the edge numbers for this? And I just hammer it out. It'll probably take me, I'll use the blitz projections today for Saturday and Sunday football. Maybe it'll take me a little over an hour. And after the end of the hour and I'll probably have like 120, 130 bets in that time because I'm just like banging them out. Just here, bing, bong, bang, bang. You know, if it's on the same book, I don't even press the submit button. I let, the whole slip go up and then just do them all as singles. And it's just like all at once. Here, DraftKings, here's my 34 singles. And there you go. Here, FanDuel, here are my 72, whatever. I mean, it's not sexy, Will. People think it's sexy that like, oh, I'm going into my lab and finding the 3 or 4 that you should bet the house on. Like that's really not what pro sports bettors do. They rely heavily on spreading out their risk and volume and scale than just like finding the one pick that you put $5,000 on. Like it's really that's not what it is.
Yeah. I mean that's what I'm saying. Like, look, we've got our own good friend here at RotoGrinders and Scores and Odds. That is one of those guys that's high volume in terms of number of wagers. Our good friend Grant Neefer. He does this every day.
Oh yeah, Grant has a million bets in all the time.
Yeah, right now, he'll have 2 million by 7 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is it's not sexy, but it spreads out your risk. The thing is you have to, if you're going to do this for a way to make that your primary goal is to make a profit. It's not for entertainment. People look at it, Will, a lot of times of, I'm watching the game, what should I bet on? And dude, I bet on stuff. Number one, I really rarely ever watch games, and I have nothing to root for because I don't even know what I need. Right? Like Sunday comes around, and it's been 3 days since I put in all my prop NFL bets. I don't even remember what I have. Red zone's on and some guy scores and this guy catches the ball. Did I have his over receptions? Do I have his I'm not, some I could remember, but most of the time I wait for all the games to be over. I reload like Pickett and I go, how did I do today? Right.
Yeah.
So, I made $762. Okay. Like, I don't, where did it come from? I don't know. I don't know. I put all that in on Thursday. I have no clue what the hell's going on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so Will, do you have Prize Pick stuff, content and stuff coming out this week? I know you'll be on the Blitz show on Saturday, right?
Yeah, I'll be on the Blitz show on Saturday. I've already dropped my Prize Pick stuff for tonight, for the Thursday night game. I've already recorded my video for Owner's Box. I'm sure that'll be available later. And that's for more traditional DFS. Of course, on Sunday, I'll be on the Showdown show for the Sunday night football slate. And then tomorrow, I'm actually going to be covering some NBA. I'll be on Grinders Live for NBA, which I'm not on there a lot, but I will be making an appearance there. And then if anybody is looking for me, Blender, you can find me in the RotoGrinders Discord, and also, of course, in Chiefs Prop Shop. I'll be in there. I will be doing some Christmas shopping today. My wife is, my son's out of school, and my wife's home as well. So we're going to run out a little bit, but I will still be around. And then I'll be back, later this afternoon. And we'll be going from there.
And the Discord is free, so you can join it. RotoGrinders.com/Discord.
Peyton said they demons up and demons. Okay. Yeah, so Prize Picks is doing something like Underdog. Underdog has these peppers?
Yeah, the peppers, right.
So what Prize Picks has done, I think, so basically, let me explain it in layman's terms for people. It's alt lines. So if you go over the regular, then you're going to get a higher payout. If you're going under, so they've got alt lines for more and less. So, let me go in there. Thanks, Peyton. I appreciate it, brother. Let's see what they have. Okay, so like this.
Let them check it out. Join Chiefs Prop Shot. We can talk a little bit more about it on future shows. Hit that thumbs up button. Give me those thumbs. Hit the subscribe button, especially if you're new here. Hit the notification bell. Always know when we go live. We got Grinders Live. We got an NBA slate tonight, right? We got Grinders Live. Yeah. We got Crunch Time. We got NFL pre-lock show for, they'll break down a little bit more about the showdown slate, Raiders, Chargers. We'll get to see, who's in, who's out. I mean, Jacobs is doubtful. I'm treating like he's out until miraculously he plays, but we'll know that later. So I'll be back tomorrow with Kyle Murray. We'll be doing a GPP breakdown for the Week 15 Sunday slate. But we also have content for the 3-game Saturday slate. It's kind of like a Thanksgiving style of slate on Saturday. So we have content for that. We have projections for everything. We got EPL soccer. We got a UFC card, pay-per-view card coming up. I don't know if Luke is in Holland is going to happen because Ian Gary just canceled. But they may be putting another fight together, so we'll get an update on that. Get everything you can in the RotoGrinders Discord and the RotoGrinders site. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month, and I'll see you tomorrow, as I always am here, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about. Daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em on RotoGrinders today.